I guess I never thought that it would get to the point where it's gotten. It just started out as a hobby. It's grown from that point, and it just kind of gets in your blood.
There may never be nothing such as that. No more Scooby-Doo, no more down Birdland. That's where it was at. I know that in days Bob was riding high. Hello, goodbye.
Imagine a grouping of more than 500 birds, assorted colors, various sizes, and each with its own song. Now put all those birds in the basement of Jim O'Mara's Eau Claire County home, and you have
Birdland, I'm singing Birdland.
O'Mara has been collecting and breeding cage birds in his indoor aviary since 1983. The hobby began as a form of therapy suggested by his doctor.
I was involved in an industrial accident a few years ago, and the doctor suggested that I get involved with something that I enjoy, and I had enjoyed birds previously. So we started out with just a few house birds. I think our first bird was a cockatiel. Then I added some canaries, and the canaries seemed to be the ones that I really preferred. They were such an interesting little bird. The male has to be such a little charmer while he's courting the hen. He just has to sing and dance his little heart out.
O'Mara now has about 60 adult canaries, and not one of them is the exact same color.
I just think that they're unique in that they have, at times, they'll have two nests of babies at the same time. The hen will hatch one batch of babies, and while they're feeding that batch and they're still in the nest, she will start a second nest and start hatching them out.
Keeping the canaries company in the aviary are finches of just about every breed and color. Even at first glance, it's easy to see these birds are just a bit more spastic than the canaries.
They're much more flighty than any bird. The smaller the finch, it seems, more flighty they are. Males are very aggressive in their little dance routines and their little songs. Some of the fancier finches, I just enjoy seeing the birds. They have a real nice little song. The Lady Gould, they're a very colorful bird, and yet they do have a real pleasing sound.
Not to be left out, lovebirds from Africa want their pleasing sound to be heard too. And then there's the parakeets, the cockatiels, the conures, and even the sophisticated Indian ringneck parakeets.
I would consider them to be almost kind of the British dignified look. They have kind of an air about them that they just seem to know that they control everything in the aviary. And they sit and stare at you, and they just look so professional.
Not so for the parakeets' Australian cousins.
They seem to enjoy getting in a position that they've never gotten into before. They just can hang with their feet up on, hanging from the top of the cage, and they're upright. So they're in a very awkward position, and they hang by their beak sometimes on the side of the cage on wires. They enjoy taking their dishes out if they can possibly get one wiggled loose. They just love carrying things around.
Taking care of 500 birds requires help from the entire family.
The family really takes part in it as a family. On weekends, the kids help. My wife and I work together. We just make the rounds and go through everything as a couple, and we both really enjoy it.
But it's Jim O'Mara who most likes to just sit and watch the birds as they go about their business.
Most of them like the swings. The canaries and the finches, they're the ones that sit on the swings and just keep swinging, and sometimes they get in fights of who's going to swing, and that can be kind of entertaining. Once in a while, the birds get a little hurried to get their nest built, and what they try and do is they take the newspaper from the bottom of the cage, and they'll start trying to shred the paper into fine shreddings and then put those in the nest. Well, once in a while you're watching them, they can't quite get the paper to tear, and they end up with the entire sheet of paper, and then they try and fly around the cage trying to get that into their nest. But it can be a very, very funny situation to watch them. They don't give up. They'll keep trying it for hours.
And the O'Maras don't keep the birds' antics to themselves. Children on school field trips are always welcome, and these 1st and 4th graders from Cleghorn School were very impressed.
Well, I never seen as much as birds as this in my life. I think that they're, really neat because I didn't know. I learned a lot here. Well, these birds.
What are you going to tell your mom and dad when you go home tonight?
I'm going to ask them if they'll buy me a bird.
I bet it wakes people up at night.
One egg in there and there's 2 babies.
The kids coming through, I guess they're so interested in them, and it's something that they can relate to as a pet. A lot of bird breeders won't allow anyone to come through their aviary. They feel it upsets the birds to the point where they'll abandon nests. I think that the birds have to have contact with people, and not just certain people. I think they have to have contact with a lot of people, because when you do sell the bird is going to be more accustomed to being around people. And if you can't have a bird that's comfortable with people, why, you're not going to be happy with your bird.
Of course, like people, not all of the birds were pleased with the crowd coming into their home.
It's kind of a show to keep you away from the damaging their eggs or interfering with their nest. It's they puff out to make themselves look larger than what they really are, because we look awful large to them.
I was wondering how they got this much money to buy all these birds.
O'Mara figures he has between $4,000 and $5,000 worth of birds and equipment in his basement, but he says the birds are pretty much paying their own way now. Offspring are often sold to pet stores or individuals when they're old enough to be taken from their parents. But that's not why O'Mara keeps 500 birds in his basement.
I would say it's still therapy. It gives you an incentive that you have to be functional. You can't accept any type of a disability. You have to keep functional. And this is one thing the birds demand, that you continually take care of them. I guess this is what kind of keeps you going.
Down them stairs, moves them